What if it turned out to be that some of the most unbelievable moments in history weren't just random, but mind-boggling coincidences? While many people insist there is no such thing as fate, history itself offers jaw-dropping examples that completely defy logic. Some of these events are so highly improbable that it is hard to believe they actually happened. But they did, and they have been recorded for us all to witness, reminding us that our world is far stranger than we often think. Few events in history are as infamous as the sinking of the RMS Titanic on April 15, 1912. The opulent ship met its tragic fate when it struck an iceberg in the icy expanse of the North Atlantic, killing over 1,500 people. The disaster has been the subject of endless speculation, yet remarkably, a strikingly similar tragedy was foretold more than a decade earlier in a work of fiction. In 1898, Morgan Robertson, a seasoned sailor with a wealth of experience at sea, published a novel named Futility. The book was a tale about a massive ocean liner named the Titan, which meets a tragic fate strikingly similar to that of the Titanic. The fictional ship was hailed as the largest and most luxurious liner ever built, and, like the Titanic, it was deemed unsinkable. Just like the real-world disaster, the Titan carried only enough lifeboats to satisfy the bare minimum legal requirements, an oversight that proved catastrophic when the ship struck an iceberg during its maiden voyage in mid-April. What makes this eerie coincidence even more remarkable are the uncanny physical similarities between the Titan and the Titanic. The fictional Titan was described as being just 83 feet shorter than the Titanic. Both ships boasted speeds of around 20 knots, and both collided with icebergs in the exact same month. Unexpected events often happen in ways that defy explanation, and sometimes a seemingly trivial incident can ripple outward, affecting lives in profound ways. Whether these coincidences truly have hidden meanings or are simply random chance is still debated, but for those who experience them, there is often a sense of something greater at play. Roy Burton, a history professor and former Texas Ranger, shared a memorable story from his past with his students. In the 1940s, while patrolling the Rio Grande, he became lost in a canyon at dusk and attempted to climb a cliff to escape. Near the top, he slipped and almost fell to his death, but a fellow ranger named Joe appeared just in time to save him by grabbing his rifle strap. Years later, while recounting this intense story to his class, Joe unexpectedly walked right into the room, reuniting with Burton at the precise moment he was reliving their shared experience out loud. Even the most famous figures in history are not immune to bizarre patterns. Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler are two leaders whose ambitions of conquering Europe drove them down remarkably similar paths filled with great triumphs followed by crushing defeats. Rising to power while still young, they both reached extraordinary heights, only to see their empires crumble as their military campaigns faltered. Russia became a key target in both of their expansion plans, and astonishingly, both managed to seize the same city on the very same day, June 24th, centuries apart. The numbers surrounding their lives, from their birth dates to key moments of victory and defeat, frequently lined up with a precise 129-year gap. Both leaders were born in different countries from the ones they eventually ruled, yet they managed to gain control of mighty empires. For those who are fascinated by historical patterns, these geometric similarities seem far too striking to ignore. Sometimes coincidences take on a darker tone, manifesting as perceived curses. In the early 1800s, tensions rose when the governor of the Indiana Territory negotiated a treaty with the Shawnee, resulting in the surrender of large portions of their land to the United States government. Enraged by the questionable tactics used to secure the treaty, the Shawnee leader Tecumseh and his brother Tenskwatawa gathered warriors from neighboring tribes and launched an attack, leading to the Battle of Tippecanoe. The American forces emerged victorious, a win that heavily boosted the governor's military reputation and eventually helped him win the presidency. In response to the defeat, it is said that a curse was placed on all United States presidents elected in years ending in 0. While largely dismissed as superstition, the pattern holds a chilling resonance. William Henry Harrison, elected in 1940, died a month after his inauguration. Abraham Lincoln, elected in 1960, was assassinated. James A. Garfield, elected in 1880, was shot and died within 6 months. The pattern continued with William McKinley, re-elected in 1900, Warren Harding in 1920, Franklin Roosevelt, re-elected in 1940, and John F. Kennedy, elected in 1960. Ronald Reagan, elected in 1980, narrowly survived an assassination attempt, leading many to believe the century-long cycle was finally broken. In the world of forensic science, an unbelievable coincidence forever changed the way the justice system identifies individuals. Before the early 1900s, identifying criminals heavily relied on photographs and a complex system of physical body measurements. This system faced its ultimate flaw when two men with identical names and identical appearances were booked into the same prison within 2 years of each other. In 1903, when a man named Will West arrived at Kansas Leavenworth Penitentiary, a prison clerk confidently claimed he recognized his name and photo from a previous booking. Puzzled, Will West insisted he had never been to prison before. The clerk took his physical measurements, and to his astonishment, they perfectly matched the records of a Will West booked in 1901. On further investigation, the clerk discovered that there were actually 2 completely different men, both named Will West, with nearly identical facial features and body types, who had no relation or prior knowledge of each other. This baffling case exposed the massive flaws in measurement-based identification and directly accelerated the adoption of fingerprinting as an infallible means of tracking individuals. Finally, consider the remarkable story of Joseph Figlock, a man who seemed to be a magnet for highly improbable events. In Detroit in 1937, Figlock was working as a street sweeper. As he was clearing a local alley, an infant unexpectedly fell from a 4th-story window directly onto his head and shoulders. Figlock sustained injuries, but miraculously broke the child's fall, saving the baby's life. The incident was regarded as a 1-in-a-million miracle. However, the exact same scenario repeated itself the following year. On October 18, 1938, Figlock was sweeping down another street when a 2-year-old named David Thomas slipped away from his mother and fell out of an apartment window. The toddler landed squarely on Figlock in the exact same manner as the first child. Remarkably, both Joseph and the second boy made a full recovery. The mathematical odds of the exact same street sweeper catching 2 different falling babies in consecutive years are astronomically low, serving as a perfect reminder that history is filled with moments that leave us scratching our heads in absolute disbelief.